Hey everyone, in today's lesson from Unit 9, we'll take a look at how to write the equation for a line. So there are three different forms that you can use to write the equation of a line, and they are standard form, slope-intercept form, which is what you're probably most familiar with, and that's the one that we are going to use, and finally point-slope form. Now people think that point-slope form looks really complicated, but I just want to show you where it comes from. If you think about the formula for slope as being m equals y minus y1, that's the change in y, divided by x minus x1, the change in x, watch what happens when you treat it as a proportion. When you put m over 1 and then cross multiply, notice that you'll end up with y minus y1 times 1, which will just be y minus y1. And then you'd be setting that equal to m times the quantity x minus x1. So really, point-slope form is just taking the formula for slope and rewriting it side by side. Right, but what we're going to use is slope-intercept form. So the goal in example 1 is to write an equation in slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b form, for the line passing through the points 4, 5, and 7, 11. So let's call 4, 5 x1, y1, and let's call 7, 11 x2, y2. So the first step in writing the equation of the line is to find the slope. In this case, since we have 2 points, we're going to use our slope formula to find the slope. So slope is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So plug in your points, 11 minus 5, divided by the change in the x's, which is 7 minus 4. 11 minus 5 gives us 6, 7 minus 4 gives us 3, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So far, in our goal to write the equation of a line, we have y equals 2x plus b. Alright, the second step is to solve for that y-intercept, or to find the y-intercept. So this is the point where the graph would cross the y-axis. So take your equation with your slope already plugged in, y equals 2x plus b, and choose a point. And for this one, let's just use that first point, 4, 5. So you plug the y value in for y, so plug 5 in for y. You plug the x value of 4 in for x, and then we'll solve for b. So some simple math. We have 5 is equal to 2 times 4, which is 8, plus b. Take and subtract 8 from both sides, and we get b is equal to negative 3. So our y-intercept is at negative 3. This line, if we were to graph it, would cross the x-axis at negative 3. Your third step is to write the whole equation. In other words, you want to take your slope and plug it in, take your y-intercept and plug it in, and write your final equation. So it'll be y is equal to 2x minus 3. Now, technically we're done. We've written the equation of the line, but you should always take the fourth step and check your equation. And you can simply check your equation by plugging in both points. And then you want to make sure it works out correctly. So if you plug in your first point, 4, 5, plug in 5 for y, plug in 4 for x, and make sure that you get 5 on the right-hand side, which we do. 5 is equal to 5. So the point 4, 5 checks out. Next, check your other point, 7, 11. So 11 goes in for y. And then you have 11 is equal to 2 times the x value of 7 minus 3. 11 is equal to 14 minus 3. That's definitely true. That gives you 11 is equal to 11. So your equation is correct. Okay, so I have another example. Just says write an equation of a line passing through the points 5, 8, and 9, 3. So again, our goal is to have an equation in slope-intercept form. So step 1, find your slope. So we can do 8 minus 3 for the change in y, divided by 5 minus 9, the change in the x's. 8 minus 3 gives us 5. 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Now, you could have also done 3 minus 8 divided by 9 minus 5. And that would give you negative 5 over positive 4. So no matter which way you do it, your slope still comes out to be negative 5/4. Okay, so far we have y is equal to negative 5/4 x plus b. And our next step is to find that y-intercept. And I just have to give you a heads up, sometimes they're not whole numbers. Like on our first example, the y-intercept was a nice negative 3, no fractions involved. This one is going to be a little bit messier. Okay, so I'm going to choose to work with this point. So that's an x equals 5 and y is equal to 8. So plug in 8 for y, plug in there 5 for x, and you can see where this is going to get a little messy now. So you have 8 is equal to negative 5 over 4 times 5 over 1. I put the 5 over 1 just to make it easier to multiply negative 5/4 times 5. Multiply those numerators together to get negative 25. Multiply the denominators together to get positive 4. Now, you can rewrite this as negative 6 and 1/4 as a mixed number. So to solve for b in this case, you have to take and add that 6 and 1/4 to the 8 on the other side. And when you do that, 8 plus 6 and 1/4 gives us 14 and 1/4. And that's our y-intercept. So see what I mean? It's not a whole number. It has a fraction. We've got a mixed number here. Okay, our final answer then would be y is equal to negative 5/4 times x, because that's our slope. You have to have the x in there, otherwise it's not, it would be a horizontal line. Okay, and then we have to add our y-intercept of 14 and 1/4. Okay, so notice how I left everything in terms of a fraction and not a decimal. Okay, so with writing equations of lines, we want things as fractions. When you're writing the equation of a line, you always have to have two clues. So in the first two examples, our two clues were two separate, distinct points. In example 3, however, we have one point, so we have one x and y. But our other clue is that we're going to write the equation of a line that's parallel to this line. Okay, so parallel lines have the same slope. So because they have the same slope, if we find the slope of our given line, then that will also be the slope of our new line. To find the slope of this line, you need to solve for y. So we're going to take the 2x plus 3y equals 11 and rewrite it as 3y equals negative 2x plus 11. All I did was subtract the 2x from both sides to get the 3y isolated. Finally, divide everything by 3, and we get the equation in slope-intercept form. So it'll be y equals negative 2/3 x plus 11/3. And now that it's in slope-intercept form, we can say for sure the slope of the line is negative 2/3. So that's our first clue, along with our point being the second clue that we need to write the equation of our new line. So come over here and start off with y equals negative 2/3 x plus b. The second step, plug in what you have for x and y. So negative 1 goes in there for x. We'll have negative 2/3, that's a 3 really, times 9 for x. Simplify that to negative 18 over 3. Simplify it again to get negative 6 plus b. So our y-intercept will come from adding 6 to both sides here. So have b is equal to positive 5. And finally, just like on the previous two questions, we're going to write our final equation. So y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 5. Again, you can check it, just make sure it's parallel to this one because it has the same slope, so that's a check. And then finally, double check your point by plugging it back in to make sure it works in the equation. In our final example, it says we want to find the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the line y equals negative 1/4 x plus 5/6 and passes through the point 2, 7. So our two clues in this case are the fact that we have a point with an x and a y value, and our line is going to be perpendicular to this given line. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. So the slope of our original line is negative 1/4. The slope of our new line, or the new slope, would have to be the negative reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4/1, or just 4. And since this slope is negative, meaning the line would go this way, our slope has to be positive. So it would go in the opposite direction. So our new slope is just simply positive 4. Okay, so plug in your slope, and we have y equals 4x plus b. Plug in your point, so plug in 7 for y and 2 for x, and solve it for b. So 7 is equal to 8 plus b, or b is equal to negative 1. Put the two pieces together to write your final equation. So you'd have y is equal to 4x minus 1. Alright, that's it. Good luck on the homework. As always, send me an email if you have any questions.